ओ ओम श्री गणेशाय नमः। ओम श्री सरस्वत्यै नमः। ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। सच्चिदानन्दरूपाय विश्वोत्पत्त्यादिहेतवे तापत्रयविनाशाय श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नुमः। श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नुमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं। परमानन्दमाधवं परमानन्दमाधवम्। ॐ वाङ्मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविरावीर्म एधि वेदस्य महानिस्थः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासीः अनेनाधीतेन अहोरात्रान् सन्दधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्माम् अवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारमवतु वक्तारम्। ॐ शान्ति शान्तिः शान्तिः। सदाशिवसमारम्भाम् शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम् वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यं निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिरिवोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यत्साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्री गुरुमूर्तये नमः। इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये। श्रीकृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारे हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा जिह्वे पिबस्वामृतमेतदेव गोविन्द दामोदर माधवेति। हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सखेति। हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सखेति। हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सखेति। Narayan, 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 Narayan. Verse number 20, chapter 3. We'll read the verse first and we'll continue from where we left in the last session. Verse number 20. कर्मणैव हि संसिद्धिम् आस्थिता जनकादयः लोकसङ्ग्रहमेवापि सम्पश्यन् कर्तुमर्हसि कर्मणैव हि संसिद्धिम् आस्थिता जनकादयः लोकसङ्ग्रहमेवापि संपश्यन् कर्तुमर्हसि. Supreme Consciousness Bhagavan Krishna in this particular verse is bringing out an aspect that all the great saints and sages and great people who have lived life on this earth, they have, if they have been engaged in continuous action, that action has been only and only as part of their effort towards nourishment and protection of this society, so that what difficulties they have faced and they had overcome them, that tool they give us, grant us, make available to all people like us, so that we don't have to rug ourselves, else fall down again and again before understanding that. So that is why they lay their path. So I left at a particular point and we were explaining in one aspect of Janakji, that King Janak, that post which I spoke about, that in case Bhagwan Shankaracharya picked that example, in case King Janak was a Vedanti or a man of realization or a man of steady wisdom, or a man of firm faith in the supreme consciousness, and with a firm understanding about the supreme consciousness, one way of understanding that is why they are doing the action was that. And I gave, I left the last session, and when I gave the example of the path, we may not be able to see that there is a well-made road on a path, but many people, when they explain this path also leads there, because many must have walked that path and reached their destination, even though it is not a well-built road or a highway. But yes, because many great people have walked that path and they've reached their destination, that means we must have faith that even if we try to walk that path, it will make us reach that destination. So that is where I left the last session. I told you that in the next session, which is today's session, I'm going to give one more example, as compared to Janakji, and that example is of our very dear and respected Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji. I am also reading his Bhashya, and I tell you, he has made scripture, understanding scriptures much more easier and much more detailed for us to understand how we need to understand our scriptures. Had he not written Bhashya, I'm telling you very honestly, many of our scriptures we may not have been able to understand in today's, at least especially Kali Yuga. In any Yuga also we may not have been able to understand, but yes, in the Kali Yuga we could definitely not understand our scriptures without his Bhashya. The way he has measured and weighed while writing a commentary on the scriptures, with only one endeavor, that we understand the scripture in the correct way and import. Like Bhagwan Krishna, what he's saying, Bhagwan Shankaracharya is trying to explain it in different ways so that we understand clearly what he means. Otherwise, today, since we are not well versed with Sanskrit, many of us, we may not even understand, if we just read the verses and go. Many come to me also and say that I've read Gita, Bhagavad Gita many times, but I've never understood anything. Because there have been nobody to explain. So that's the greatness of Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji, and that is the example I'm going to pick up today, that how a man of realization and such a great saint and sage, who had expounded the path of sannyas very very positively, and he's laid so much emphasis on the importance of the path of sannyas, and he has explained the path of sannyas also so well. You see, after being such a great saint and sage and a great sannyasi who had nothing to do with any action at all, you see, in a short span of 32 years, what all he has done and gone from here. I'm telling you, in a mere age of 32. What is an age of 32? Many of us don't even gain the correct understanding of whatever we have studied also at that age. And you see what Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji has done and gone. He was one of the greatest sannyasis available, well, in Bharatvarsha, available for the whole world, to make us understand spirituality in its correct essence. So when I talk about it, there are million ways I can talk about it, but we'll try to see some aspects which shows us that even after being such a man of great man of realization, a great saint and sage, how much work he has done. And as Bhagwan himself said, he did all that. And even after the fact that Bhagwan himself said that if you have established yourself, you have tasya karyam na vidyate. He had nothing to do. He could have just sat down, realized, and gone. But why did he do? For a great saint and sages, every action of theirs is nothing but loka sangraha only. And I explained you three prarabdhs, that swecha prarabdh, anicha prarabdh, and all those things I explained you in the last session, that for them, parecha prarabdh. So swecha prarabdh, anicha prarabdh, and swecha prarabdh, I explained you last time. And that of course some are part of his own prarabdha, but some are prarabdha of which is nobody's, but Bhagwan gives them that work to fulfill the nourishment of the world and all. And some is parecha, like many people's prarabdha is fructified. That is why Guru remains there for some time, to help us gain that particular knowledge. So here Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji's life, you see what he has done in a small age of 32, we cannot even imagine. We cannot understand it completely. We can never assess it completely. And the importance of it also, while I'm trying to put it in words, but I'm telling you, unless and until you see it, you won't be able to understand the importance. And many of us may not be able to understand the importance of his work in our whole lifetime also. Just imagine the kind of work he has done. He established our Char Dham, the four dhams, which we call in India as Char Dham, has been established by Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji. He has written such subtle scriptures, such subtle work he has done. And in terms of writing about Vedanta, you cannot even imagine the kind of work he has done. And he has done and discussion and about our scriptures with great scholars of his time. Many great scholars. He's done Shastrarth, we call it at that time. Shastrarth means discussing about the scriptures and explaining the scriptures in correct way, so that if the other person has not understood correctly, their doubt is cleared. And once the doubt is cleared, whatever they have misunderstood, once that is cleared, they come back and become part of this one. Some people, we call it that they do philosophical level change, which we call it what these days we call it dharmantaran means that they change religions. Why? Because you have not understood your religion correctly. Since you have not understood your religion correctly, of course you are always vulnerable to shift over to someone. If someone other one explains their side, and you think that our side, because we don't understand our side correctly, so we think that yeah, he's right, our side has got so many lacunas, so many this thing. All the religious conversions happens because of that only, because we don't have knowledge. So he did shastrarth, or discussion about, I would say productive discussion about scriptures, to clarify the misunderstanding and doubts which are there in the mind of people. And three times he walked across the length and breadth of this country, Bharatvarsha. He walked by foot. Three times he walked by foot, the length and breadth of this country, to see, everything is correct, and whatever he could do that. Just imagine, at his time when he was here, majority of people in our country were followers of Buddhist religion. They were, they were following Bauddha Dharma so much, so to say. What he did with his Shastrarth and all, he made them understand Vedic Dharma correctly, and brought them back home. What we call today, brought them back home. Home means They brought them back into their core religious beliefs, core religious system, the Vedic Dharma philosophy. All those who have been lost there, because majority of people at his time were following Buddhist Dharma, Bauddha Dharma, or Buddhist religion, so to say. So he made them follow Vedic Dharma at that time. I would say brought them back to following Vedic Dharma at that time. In today's history, whatever history we have available today, in the history of us, I, I, I guarantee you, you cannot find a person like him. You cannot. You cannot find a person, even, I would say, a few times, even, close to his what he has done. You cannot find one. His greatness is far above excellence. That is why all those who follow Vedic Dharma, they call him Bhagwan Shankaracharya. I'm telling you honestly, why Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji? Because he is the incarnation of Bhagwan Shiva only. Bhagwan Shiva only came to, make the scriptures simple for people like us to understand. That is why, because Bhagwan Shiva is Adi Guru. He only will take the onus of giving that knowledge correctly to all people like us. All seekers are, his disciple, his students only, because he is the Adi Guru. Since he is the Adi Guru makes sure that, whatever thing is available, if it is there is misunderstanding or anything left, or if it is complex, difficult to understand, he is the one who comes and makes it simple. So he came to earth for people like us, so that we are able to understand the scriptures correctly. No, you cannot find a person like him. There is no second person like him who could have done even close to what he has done, and in his span of life. At the age of 16, what is the age of 16? I would use the word, it's an age of adolescence at this point in time. At that particular age of 16 years, he wrote Bhashya on the most difficult Vedantic scripture called Brahma Sutra. He wrote a bhashya on it. He wrote a commentary on Brahma Sutra, the 555 sutras of Brahma Sutra, which is supposed to be the pinnacle of Vedantic text available. It is not even taught to many, because you have to become eligible to even study that. So he wrote commentary on Brahma Sutra. So the life of him, what we see of Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji is karmasah evate drishyante. We all seekers see Bhagwan Shankaracharya's life like that only. We see his life with action only, rather filled with action. Writing commentary on bhashyas is writing commentary or bhashya on Upanishads and Brahma Sutra and all our Vedantic texts, and also composing new Vedantic texts, Prakarna Grantha, Good Prakarna Grantha. He's done so much of work. For Vedantic students, unless and until we have gratitude and gratitude towards him, and we have respect and reverence towards him, I'm telling you, understanding Vedanta is not possible at all. That is the greatness of Bhagwan Shankaracharya. So the life we see of him is filled with action. Actually, since I'm on the topic of discussing about him, I will bring out one more thing. When he first went to Govind Bhagavad Padji, who is his guru, he went there to study scriptures, as deep study of scriptures under him. So when he saw this mere such a small age, he was 8 years old when he reached there. So when he reached there, so he thought, such a small, he went and asked straight away to Guru, I want to write bhashya on Upanishads. Guru looked at him that, such a small child, and he insisted a couple of times that I want your, grace and blessings to write bhashya on Upanishads, if you allow me to do that. So he, just like when a kid comes and, again and again asks something, to Guru says, no, hold this, do this first and show me. So Govind Bhagavad Padji said that, why don't you do one thing? Okay, I will allow you to do that. The first bhashya you need to write is on Vishnu Sahasranam. He said, okay. So he thought Vishnu Sahasranam has got 1000 names of Bhagwan Vishnu. Oh, so he will take probably a year or something to write down on that. Long period of time to do it. I want to see how he does. Can you imagine? In just few days, he wrote the Bhashya on Vishnu Sahasranam and went to his Guru and said, Guru, I've come. I've written Bhashya on Vishnu Sahasranam. Guru got surprised. He said, are you sure? He said, yes, I've written Bhashya on Vishnu Sahasranam. I'm keeping it for you to read. So he said, just keep it on my bedside. I will read it. When he started reading it, he was so amazed that next day morning he said, I am no one to, allow you or not allow you. You please go ahead and write Bhashya and everything. See, that's the greatness of Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji. I think there is no one like him who you can see in this creation. So that is what Bhagwan is trying to say here. Bhagwan says, Supreme Consciousness Bhagwan Krishna says, Karma naiva hi samsiddhim asthitaha janakadaya. Their action of such great men is nothing but nourishment and protection of the society to benefit people like us, so that we can also get an opportunity to grow in life and walk the correct path. All the actions of a man of steady wisdom, or man of self knowledge, or man of realization is only and only for nourishment and protection of this society and the world around us, so that dharma can be re-established, which is the one which runs this creation. Their action is like so. Bhagwan, Supreme Consciousness Bhagwan Krishna is pointing to Arjun, you are one of the great warriors of your times. You are seen as a great man. Many people look up to you. So that's why you must make it a point to act in a way so that your actions become facilitating factor for nourishment and protection of the society. Means you must act for loka sangraha. This was one way of understanding Janakji. If we take Janakji as a man of steady wisdom and man of realization. Now I told you Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji has also explained the other side of it. If we take Janakji as one who has not gained the self knowledge, who is not a man of realization, then also we can expound what Bhagwan is saying to understand what Bhagwan means from this. So he has taken both sides to explain this. You can explain Janakji in either ways. Why? Because since he's a man and who's already a man with self knowledge, you can take his example other way also, and explain that way. It will fit correctly. So here Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji in his Bhashya says, for a moment you think that Janakji is not a man of steady wisdom. He is not a man of self knowledge. So Bhagwan Bhashyakar, Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji is taking both the options here, so that we don't get confused. We don't end up and saying you explained him like that, but Bhagwan said tasya karyam na vidyate. We think probably Janakji is on the other side, so your explanation doesn't fit. So Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji is not leaving any room for such things. So he's saying, in case you consider that he was not a jnani, not a man of steady wisdom, and he was not established in the self knowledge completely, that means then what will be his stand? Then he will be a seeker, right? If he's not established in self knowledge, he's not gained the self knowledge yet, he's not established in the self, that means he's a seeker yet, right? In case I'll explain you in another way also. Oh, technically, which means what? In case he has not gained the Atmarati, reveling in the self, he has not reached that stature, that means since he has not reached there, as Bhagwan also said earlier, that means he must do Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is for him. He's not reached that level of reveling in the self, no? Oh, so Bhagwan Bhashyakar writes here, Atha अप्राप्त सम्यक दर्शनाः जनकादयः तदा कर्मणा. Such a seeker who has not reached the level of firm abidance in the self, who has not reached the level of complete knowledge about the self, experience of the self, not or established in the self knowledge yet. But what are the which way or why will a seeker, or which way that seeker should act, and why is that where that action of the seeker is going to lead him into. So Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji says, Sattva Shuddhi Sadhana Bhutena Kramena Karmana. Bhagavan Bhashyakar says, since he is not, if we take the example of him as not established in the self-knowledge, that means he must do Karma Yoga. And he is doing Karma Yoga. Why? Because his step-by-step action by the methodology of Karma Yoga becomes a facilitating factor for him to develop and nourish Sattva Shuddhi in him, the purity of Sattva in him. It becomes a step-by-step process of gaining the required purity of sattva or pure sattva within him, or cultivate pure sattva within him. I can say that way. Such an action actually leads this person for developing a Vishuddha Antakaran. Vishuddha means a absolutely subtle and pure or inner equipment. It will reach a stage, or it will lead that person into development of a subtle and pure inner equipment, Vishuddha Antakaran. And with if you really see Janakji's life, his life have been filled with such action, and that is how Janakji has led his entire life. In both ways, you can explain the example given by Bhagwan Krishna, Supreme Consciousness Bhagwan Krishna, to explain the points mentioned in this particular verse. In both ways, you can do that. And as a Brahmanist, as a man, and with firm abidance in the self also, and as a great seeker also, you can fit the example of Janakji in both ways. You can, and take the example of Janakji to explain either ways. Actually, both ways it fits correctly. In both the directions, the simultaneousness of action we see, we can connect that to both sides of explanation. Whether he's a jnani also, a man of steady wisdom also, or whether you want to take his example as a man who is still ignorant and not yet reached the self knowledge. That is why Arjun loka sangraham eva api sampashyan kartum arhasi. I am going to come to explain that sampashyan kartum arhasi at the end also, so that you understand the entire verse correctly. So Supreme Consciousness Bhagavan Krishna says, for a moment, even if you start thinking that you do not require, Bhagavan is talking to Arjun here. So Arjun, for a moment, let's take for a moment that you think that you do not require Karma Yoga at all. Well, remember, I'm using the word here that you do not require Karma Yoga. For saying this, remember, who do not require Karma Yoga, for even and qualifying for this statement that you do not require Karma Yoga, that person necessarily has to be at a level where he's got firm abidance in the self. He should be a Brahmanist. Only for a Brahmanist alone this statement fits, that you do not require Karma Yoga. For all others who are not Brahmanist, Karma Yoga is definitely required. So Arjun, for a moment, let me just take that example and let me just give you a discount that way. If you started thinking that Karma Yoga is not required by you. Now, I'm giving you the pointer here for you to know. Arjun, in the first chapter, when you came to me and raised your points, raised your arguments for not fighting, you used there the second chapter, earlier part, he said, he's what? Dharma Sammudha Chetaha. You said that you are completely deluded about the topic of Dharma. Okay, which means what? If you are deluded about the topic of Dharma, then being a man or firmly established or abiding in the self is very far for you at that time. So you started the point saying that you are Dharma Sammudha Chetaha. Okay, still I give you the discount that after listening to my entire teaching in post your from verse number 11 in second chapter onwards, after listening to the entire teaching of mine, maybe you have reached, I'll give you the discount that, after listening to the entire thing, you have reached the state of Brahmi Sthiti, which Bhagavan mentioned at the end of second chapter, where, api, even if that is the case, even if you have reached that state, still, even if you reach the state, you still must, with the objective of nourishment of the society and protection of the society, must do your action. Seeing the nourishment of the society and your duty of nourishment and protection of the society as one of the objectives, one of the duties of yours in life, you must not give up your action. As a Kshatriya, his action was to protect his people from bad rulers, from wrong kind of rulers, from demonic rulers. It is his duty as a Kshatriya. You must protect your society, nourish your society, right? That is what you need to do. Since Arjun, you are looked up by people as a great personality, as a great man, you must do it. You must do this way. Lokasya unmarga pravritti nivaranam lokasangraha. Brilliant way of Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji to explain this. What is lokasangraha? Now, this point I should pick up now. What do you mean by, I will use the word, there is this popular word which is very commonly used today, social service or social work, right? But the way we understand social work or social service, we are only helping, we are only temporarily helping people. Let me use this way. What is real social service? Trust me, I'm telling you, all the men of realization, all the men of realization who had walked this earth, who had lived life on this earth, and gone from here, they have done post their gaining the knowledge. They are the one who only qualify, as we can say, that they have done social service. Why? Because how Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji explains here, lokasya unmarga pravritti nivaranam lokasangraha. I'm telling you, I do not know how to appreciate Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji, the way he has brought it out. The biggest service we can do in this creation, one way we see today is that we give food, distribute food, give money to people. How long you will help that person? I know how long that person will be helped by the food you give. How long will the person be helped by the money you give? Of course, I'm not saying they are not right, or you must, if you have, you should give. That is different thing. But how you will call that as social service? It is only serving them for maybe few moments, maybe it may be few days, depending upon the thing. Food though usually is only a day maximum, if it's like summers or anything. But the way we need to understand what is this, why the great saints work is actual social service, because the biggest social service is unmarga pravritti nivaranam. When you motivate people to give up their wrong tendencies and the wrong path and wrong doings they are engaged into, you motivate people for that. Okay, remember one thing, I'm using one word here. All of us, I'm telling you, the biggest, what you call that, service we are doing to God is what? The biggest service to God will be when we at our own level are able to ourselves correct our wrong beliefs, correct us from walking the wrong path, and or start walking the correct way, and adapting the correct ways and techniques of life. Remember, that is when we improve we will also motivate people around us to improve, not by mere teaching. All the great saints who have lived life here and gone, they have not merely taught scriptures, they have lived scriptures. There's a difference. There are many who are talking, but there are only few who are living. There is a big C difference. Of course, when you teach, people do get it to understand correctly. But when you start walking that path, by seeing you, people around you start to understand the importance of it. I'm telling you very honestly, I am so indebted to my Guruji that I don't think even if I live many lives and serve him throughout my life, I'll be able to repay what he has given me. I'm telling you, him and Bhagwan I'm talking about, I don't think I'll be able to repay him even if I spend my whole life serving him. Not only this life, many lives, so to say. That is what the great things he has shown me by his living example. I really, thank God, or I really thank God for his grace and blessing that he made me meet him. Without God's grace, we cannot come across great Mahatmas. Bhagavan Shankaracharya in Vivek Chudamani says, Durlabam trayame vaitat devanugraha hetukam manusyatvam mumukshutvam mahapurusha samshraya. Without the grace and blessings of Bhagwan, these three things are not possible. You will always remain far. Manushyatvam. We have only got a human body. To cultivate humane nature, humane tendencies, and humane character, we need grace and blessings of Bhagwan. And few levels above, few notch above that is in human life developing the deep desire for liberation, that mumukshutvam. I want liberation and liberation alone and nothing else. Developing or nourishing that within you, that I have lived enough. I have seen the limitedness of all the things in this creation. I want God and God alone, and nothing can satisfy me. I need liberation alone. That is what is called mokshutvam. The third thing which Bhagwan is mentioned over there is Mahapurusha Samshraya, coming in contact with a great saint and sage, a man of realization. Not possible without the grace and blessings of Bhagwan. That is why I keep telling in the WhatsApp group I have for listeners, that the one thing you focus is grow in love and devotion for God, and simultaneously, continuously do not lose an opportunity to do and earn punya. You do not know what these two things will lead you to. So, all of us must make an effort. I'm telling you here, repeating my words again. The best, offering to Bhagwan, offering to God from our side will be if we are able to correct our wrong faith, wrong ideologies, wrong tendencies, and negative character we have cultivated and nourished till date. That is our biggest offering to Bhagwan. Why it is the biggest offering? By removing them or working to resolve them within us, we are actually supporting, or we are contributing to Bhagwan to make this world a better place to live for everyone. Simple as that. If we improve, we all take the onus and responsibility of us, why will not this world become a brilliant place to live? Why will not this world become a happy place to live for each of us? That is the biggest thing, biggest offering of our as a devotion to our God. Through our every action, through our every endeavor and every chase in life, through our every conversation, through our personality, there should be such indications which should be coming. There should be such motivating statements coming out from there, that people around us get motivated to give up the wrong tendencies in their life, to give up nishiddha karma, means prohibited action, give up the prohibited action. And that should push them, motivate them, that they should stop doing wrong things in life, stop doing nishiddha karma. uh, you know it should give them motivation, and so that all of us or people around them, whoever come in contact with them, they have this motivation to improve themselves. you know with this, actually, there are two kind of benefits which are reaped by this kind of an act. What? That first, we ourselves will continuously become better and better day by day. That's the first thing. Second, we will also give motivating factors, or give motivation to people around us, that they can also try to improve in their life. These are the two biggest gain which comes from such kind of an effort. It's a very easy path. It's very easy for all of us, and there is nothing made up in this. It's not something that, it's a fishy story, or it's a wishy-washy thing or something like that. It is very easy. It is not something in fakely built up, or hallucinatory in nature. Nothing like that. And you don't have to do anything special. You don't have to take up any special project for that. You have to work upon yourself. Why you need a special project for that? In all our endeavors, in all our efforts, such kind of an indication should come, that others also get motivated to walk the correct path, and also get motivated and to give up the wrong beliefs and wrong paths they are into. Otherwise, if our life cannot be used for that, if our life cannot be used for such things, remember one thing very clearly, and mind it, I'm telling you, this body is not a very happiness driving thing for anyone. Don't think that this body is a very happiness driving thing for anyone. In case is we are able to put this body into service of doing service for people, and motivating people to who walk the correct path, then trust me, that is when where your life will become useful. Then you are proving utility of your life. Then only you can prove the utility of your life, if you are able to drive such thing. Otherwise, remember, if you are not doing such things at all, this body for you is nothing but a tool of enjoyment, and it is definitely going to draw you down from human life. Definitely is the word I'm using. It's not going to give you any good growth. Forget the growth, forget the vertical growth. It's going to take you down for sure, because it will become a upabhog ayatanam, only a tool, only a machinery for enjoyment, nothing else. And remember, what I told you to do now, it's not a very difficult thing to do, but it is not very easy also. Had it been easy, everyone could have walked that. But it is not something which is very difficult to follow. But remember, it is not very easy also. But even though it is like that, but this is the thing which we all must take up to do. Why? Because it is the instruction, order, and advice of Supreme Consciousness, Bhagwan, to all of us. And how we have to do this? To tell that, Bhagwan is now trying to tell us one principle of life which we should all know. The core, the core nature of all of us, all of us is something lying there, that we want to copy someone. Okay, so Bhagwan is saying this is lying in all of us as a human being, that we want to copy someone or the other. Bhagwan is saying this habit which is lying at the core of your or nature, utilize it and take advantage of that habit. That is what the next verse is all about. But before I go to the next verse, I would want to read Puja Gurudev's commentary on actually verse number 19 and 20 both, before I move on to the verse number 21 and read that particular one. So let's read Puja Gurudev's commentary. So Puja Gurudev writes for verse number 19. I'll read the verse number 19, commentary on verse number 19 first. We have already noticed that Krishna presupposes no knowledge in his friend, nor does he thrust upon Arjuna bare statements that are to be blindly believed and silently swallowed by him. Proselytization is not the technique of Vedanta. Hindus are strangers to it. Every strong statement of fact is preceded by a line of logical thoughts explained at length. Till now, Krishna was explaining the wheel of action, and after exhausting the exposition of this entire theory, he in this stanza is crystallizing his conclusions, encouraging Arjuna to act. Therefore, always perform actions which are obligatory in your present social status, in your domestic situation, as a member of your community and the nation. Even here, Krishna is repeating his warning to Arjuna that he must be careful in all his activities to keep his mind away from all dangerous attachments. The Lord has already explained how attachments directly help to form tendencies in the mind and deepen fresh vasana impressions within. For verse number 20, Puja Gurudev writes, thus, the wise kings of yore, such as Janaka and Ashwapati, had tried to attain perfection, samsiddhi, by the path of action. They were men of right understanding as they tried to liberate themselves through right actions performed in a spirit of detachment and self dedication. They had set an example to the world by their achievement through an immaculate life of service. Krishna means that Arjuna too, a prince by birth and one who has taken upon himself the entire responsibility of mobilizing and fighting the war, should respect his prarabdha and act diligently without running away from the battlefield as he had already intended to do. This is the only method by which he can gain a complete vasana exhaustion in himself. Born as a king, he had a greater responsibility towards the community than any other member. Therefore, it was his duty that he should keep to his post and work diligently. A creeper will never grow in a desert. It is nature's law that every living creature finds itself in the most conducive outer world conditions. Thus viewed, because of the very fact that he had manifested himself as a son of his father in the family of kings, nature had judged that the most conducive circumstance in life for Arjuna was the life of a prince, daring dangers, fighting enemies, and generally ordering peaceful and progressive growth for the society. That is what Puja Gurudev has written as a commentary for verse number 19 and 20. Now we'll move into verse number 21, where Bhagwan is trying to bring out one and core thing which is there in all of us to just imitate. But who do we imitate? That also we will see as we move along this particular verse. So verse number 21, I'll read the verse first, then I'll read Bhagwan Shankaracharyaji's Bhashya on the same, and then we'll take up the meaning. Bhagwan Shankaracharyaji says, यद यद कर्म आचरति येषु येषु श्रेष्ठः प्रधानः तत्तद एव कर्म आचरति इतरः अन्यः जनः तदनुगतः किंच स श्रेष्ठः यत् प्रमाणं कुरुते लौकिकं वैदिकं वा लोकः तद अनुवर्तते तद एव प्रमाणीकरोति इत्यर्थः. Supreme Consciousness Bhagavan Krishna is bringing one great point here, that what is the path of nourishment of society? What is the methodology of working for social service or loka sangraha, so to say? Only thing we have to do is that we all take up the onus and responsibility to make each one of us better as compared to yesterday. We should put an effort that we cultivate good habits day after day, day by day. More and more good habits are cultivated, more and more good natured we should become, loving natured we should become. Whatever reactions we have in terms of situations, in terms of life and all, we should try to make them, those reactions, higher and higher, means better and better. Our reactions towards situations and people in life should become better and better. It is said that man is known by his reactions. Our reactions to different situations hence become one of the barometer to know where we stand. Whatever reactions we have in different situations which we face in life, that is how people recognize us. Shrestha yad yad acharati itara janah tat eva acharanti. No, one nature of the mind is that without even thinking, our mind will go after and imitate, or go after and follow. I'm explaining you the points so that you understand the correct thing. It's not that we follow everyone. Just listen to me very carefully here. One nature of our mind is that without even thinking, it will just follow. But not only follow, it will try to imitate also things from there. The only thing we have to do now, this is what I'm trying to highlight here, that while following, we need to take utmost precaution, utmost vigilance as to what and who we are following. That is the mistake which many of us do. Without spending time to actually get a little deeper into to understand, we just try to follow. We should not do that without a careful assessment and judging basis our assessment. If we do not take that assessment, and remember, if we do not become careful, remember, mind's nature is such, it will just follow without the judgment correctly. So that judgment portion has to be planted correctly, has to be done correctly. Now the thing we need to remember is this arrangement of the nature. First of all, that we have this habit embedded in us that we want to follow somebody or the other. That is something which is a very auspicious arrangement of the nature, and I'm really marking my words for this. Remember, whatever arrangements nature have, it is not to harm us, it is only for benefiting us. Whatever laws nature have made, it is only for our benefit. It's not to harm us. And that is the law which has been created by Bhagwan himself. And remember, this habit that we have the tendency to follow is also something which has been blessed by Bhagwan only, by God only to us. It is a nature which has been given to us. And remember, it is not to what you call that, not to invite inauspiciousness in our life. It is actually auspicious only provided we understand and make it happen correctly. Now, in imitation, what we do, or with the copy of people or habit we do, with the only secret which is hidden there, which we see, is that we only try to copy or imitate someone who we have accepted as a great personality or a great man or somebody higher than us, or provided I'll use the word this way, or only of someone who we look up to. But who we look up to, that judgment, many of us don't do that. That is the problem. Remember one thing, I'm telling you certain secrets here of this nature, that if we understand, we will know, where we sometimes make big mistake. And remember, once we accept and we start imitating, correction is not a very easy thing. It takes too much time. That is why before it happens itself, if we can set it correctly, I'm telling you, it will give us a lot of comfort to lead a life of, lead a life of growth for us. Now remember one thing, our intellect, our intellect, right, accept somebody as higher or ideal for us, or intellect chooses the person as higher than us or ideal or as a great person, and intellect only decides. Now for example, there is somebody who is around us, or who is standing in front of us, and who is seen as a great personality or a great man, and our intellect also accepts that person as a great personality, and people around us also accept him as a great personality. So the first facet which comes is, our intellect should accept or identify someone as a great personality. Then once it identifies or accepts someone as a great personality, then our intellect starts to search that why is this person great. Okay. And and then it, once it looks for what is that which makes this person great, and try to pervade that thought with those things which intellect sees or identifies as these are the reasons which make this person ungreat. For example, since this person talks this way or talks intelligently this way, this person has to be great. Since this person walks or acts in life this way, this person has to be great. Or this person wears clothes like this, dresses this way, that's why this person is really great. Now, what do you call that? Creating pervasive thoughts for that person who have been accepted or identified by the intellect as great is something which constantly keeps on going in our intellect. It starts to draw, or points, that this is the reason why he is considered great, this is the reason. It's a constant thing which is going on. Once that pervasiveness of thought that these are the reasons why this person is great, and it is proved that this is why this person is great, once that a pervasiveness has been set in our intellect, once this, it has become it has accepted this person as a great personality, remember, then one simultaneous things starts to work along with that. What is that? That since this person walks this way, that is why this person is great, and I also should start walking like that. It simultaneously starts walking. Since these are the reasons this person is great, I also should adopt or imitate these things which makes this person great. This is called, we in Sanskrit use the word sachar darshanam. Sachar darshanam is something which keeps on simultaneously moving around. Since the intellectual work is over now, he has identified or known someone as great, and has taken out data points to see these are the reason why this person is called as great. Then what will start working in our mind intellect simultaneously, that I try to adapt that style. I'm telling you, I have seen many such people, when they met my Guruji, they start, my Guruji used to wear his ochre in a particular form. Okay, so I see many of the students who used to look up to them, they started wearing in ochre, or their cloth in that particular form. They started keeping in makeup in that particular form. why? Because they've accepted that person as great, so they will try to see whatever is the best you can take, whatever, whatever makes them great. I also want to imitate all those things, so they start imitating that. So this is called Sahachar Darshanam. Sahachar Darshanam means it starts to work simultaneously, you know, and whatever had intellect has accepted as these are the things which made this person great, the person will try to imitate all that without any further assessment. Now, one thing we must all remember is, while creating these pervasiveness of thought, definitely there are sometimes intellect also makes mistakes. And I think in the last session I spoke about that. When we use the word hero in movies and all, they are hero in terms of the role in the movie, but the problem which happens is we take that term hero so seriously that we try to imitate them and we try to follow them. And then remember, of course, heroes are people who have acted a role and gone, not necessarily that their life is very hunky dory or they are great people that way. I told you in the last session that actual heroes who we should look up to are only the great saints and sages and man of realization. Why? Because they have lived the life, they've understood the life correctly and lived the life correctly. For all others, we are all ajnani, ignorant only. If we consider some ignorant person as great and try to follow, then I'm sorry, we are doing a very wrong thing for ourselves. We are going a very wrong way. The once we understand that his greatness is attributed because of this particular factor, then remember, we will try to adapt that factor, and that is where, while creating this pervasive thought, sometimes gross mistakes happen. Example one I'm giving you is, in earlier time it was there, if somebody wears a jacket like Jawaharlal Nehru, then we will also become like him, you know because our intellect has accepted him as a great personality. Then we searched for a reason for his greatness. Since we do not know any other attributes, we thought that since he wears a jacket like that, I think he looks like that, probably that is the reason he is considered great. And whatever thing intellect identifies as the cause of his greatness, our intellect accepts it blindly. And remember, what it accepts, there is no discussion, there is no argument. Remember that thing, huh? Argument and the point of argumentation, we say that why didn't you argue? Why didn't you research through it? Actually, there is nothing like that at all. Once an intellect accepts it, it accepts it, and there is no argument around that. Argument is only, a man gives argument only for those things which he does not need or he does not want to adapt in life. There are million arguments you can give. I'm just giving you an example. These days, small kids, when you tell them something good, if they don't want to do it, they will give you million arguments, more arguments than their own size also, that why they think that it should not be done. Sometimes parents get surprised, where is he getting these arguments from? Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji, that's why in one of his Prakarana Grantha called Sadhana Panchakam, he is very loud and clear announced it for the sadhaks, Dustarkat Suviramyatam. Don't get into argumentation with anyone. It is not your purpose. If you know something is your guru has taught you something and it is correct, don't fall into argumentation, just follow it, because your guru is greater than those people who are arguing. I think I said that at one time also. These days too, I think it's such a bad habit that people end up arguing for everything. You just open television, there's so much discussion and debate going on, doesn't lead anyone anywhere. Rather, the people who watch, their intellect only gets spoiled. I do not know why they waste time of themselves and others also. It is such a thing that if one thing we do not want to accept, remember there will be a million arguments we'll bring out for not accepting that. The core thing is that whatever is the whatever is the factor which made this person great, whatever, if once we have decided on that, whatever pervasiveness we have established in us, that is what makes a difference whether we'll follow it also or not. Now, if pervasiveness, the pervasive thought is correct, we have made the correct thought as pervasive, then remember, this habit of us is going to be most auspicious for us. We'll only follow that. And why? Because we accepted the correct thing and made that as thought as a pervasive. Remember, if we see that this person is great because of these characters, these gunas, that is what make this person great, then remember, the person who accepts that, whose intellect accepts that, will also want to adopt those gunas and those characters, also want to imitate them, adapt them. And in case such a pervasiveness is made, that because of this nature this person is great, then remember, we will also want to develop and cultivate such nature. There is no such person in this creation who is living in a human body who does not imitate at all, or who does not copy at all. And there is nothing wrong in imitating and copying. In uh, somebody's habits, somebody's nature, somebody's intellectual understanding and vastness and knowledge, somebody's what you call saintness, somebody's is compassion, and all those things we can and accept as something great in a person, which makes people great. That is what makes some people great. And some people have got this habit of doing good for others. you know all these things are good to adapt, and these are the things which make people great. And in case we have understood these things, that these are the factors which have made this person great, then remember one thing: we will try to adapt that. And we will also, another thing important is that we will try to drop those things, or destroy those things in us which are opposite to that, which are against such things. you know there is nothing wrong in the habit of imitating and copying, but the only problem is, who do we imitate and who do we copy? That is one thing which makes this important to understand, whether we are in the right path, or whether we are going good, or whether we are going to go down. And if we copy some great saint and sage and walk the correct path in life, the path he has walked, it is good for us only. The only thing is that the pervasiveness which we built in our intellect should be built correctly. If that is built correctly, then the imitation and copy we do will also be in the correct form and manner, and the result which comes out of it will be surprising and amazing for us also, and the people around us also. That much for today. Rest we'll see it in the next session. कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि श्रीमन्नारायणायेति समर्पयामि। ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम। ओम तत्सत्।